Welcome back to Indie Rebel VFX, Hollywood effects without a Hollywood budget. I'm your instructor, Chris Temple, and today we're going to learn about screen replacements. Now, this is a technique that's used to replace the interfaces and images on televisions and computers, cell phones, pretty much anything that's got a digital screen. This allows you to control what's on that screen in post, so it's extremely powerful and extremely cool. So today's focus will be on learning to use the Planar Tracker inside a Natron that allows you to either have the object moving and or the camera moving with it and still be able to lock your image right to where you want it to be. Now typically this would be done with a piece of software called Mocha if you had a lot of money. However, if you don't have a lot of money, you can actually do this inside a Natron for free, and that's really cool. So let me show you how this works. Alright, let's go ahead and do this. Now, a lot of people think you need something like Mocha in order to be able to get a good track on a shot like this, but I want to show you how you can do this with this free software, Natron. Fortunately, as we know, Natron has basically taken the tracker from Blender and integrated it into this software, and it really helps out a lot. So here's our shot. We've got Ruby holding her phone, and it's going to start flashing danger, danger, and there's going to be all sorts of fancy widgets and things spinning around. So this tutorial is going to focus on not just the planar track itself, which is what we want to do for this, but also UI design and some really quick ways we can get a nice looking sci-fi type interface, something futuristic that really seems to fit in with the theme of the film. So what I want us to do is to actually start off with our UI design, then we'll come back and bring it here into Natron after, and we'll do the track and composite it all up. So let's go and fire up Photoshop and we'll get going with the UI. Those of us with a smartphone know that the image size is 1920 by 1080, so we are going to go ahead and create a new file that is going to be just that size, and in this case we want the width to be 1080 and the height to be 1920. And that gets us a nice cell phone type rectangle like this. Alright, to start off with, let's just go ahead and give it a black background. And that'll come in handy when we go to screen this on top of the shot later. And we can go ahead and designing our UI. Now I like blues and greens and that kind of a thing. So I might start off with just going ahead and draw kind of a blue line. You can see I've got like a stroke effect applied to it. And I'm just gonna kind of like draw a little bar across the top here. Like that. And maybe we want to move it up a bit more. To there, that works. And then we can start doing all sorts of other things. We can add some text to this. And let's go and give the text the right color that we want here. Maybe I want my text to be kind of in that blue tone as well. Something like that. And you could put up the name of a makeshift carrier. In this case, we'll call it INDRBL wireless. Alright, let's go and make it a little bit bigger. And let's choose a decent font for it. That's kind of cool, I like that. So now you've got your basic wireless service provider thing going on up there. And so let's go ahead and just add a new layer. And then we go up here and we choose which brush we want to use. In this case I want to try this one. It's going to be way too big like that. There we go. So in this case 800 looks to be a pretty decent size. So now that I've got that, we're going to just place it where we think we want it to be. Somewhere around here, a little high, come a little bit lower. There we go. And when we do our brushes, make sure that you're putting your brush on the actual new layers that we're creating, and this will allow us to separate these out and treat them like MoGraph effects later on. So I want that one there. And what other kind of HUD brushes do I have? Let's see how this one looks. I'm going to add a new layer for it again. Ooh, that's kind of cool. A little target rectangle kind of a thing. And I think we need probably one more. Let's see what this looks like. Add new layer. Ooh, that's cool. I like that. I'm going to put that. I'm going to shrink it down a bit. And I want to put it over here. Like that. There we go. We can grab our move tool and just go and move that into position. Go back to the first one and line that up like that. I'm going to rotate it the other direction. All right, there we go. So we've got the one here, and we're going to call this circle 1. Try it like that without the right caps. Circle 1. This one's going to be circle 2. And this one's going to be, what do we want to call that one? We'll call that one scale. And now we can have kind of a message box area that we want to work with. So I'm going to, on top of these, add a new layer. And what I want to do is actually come over here and choose, I think I like the rounded rectangle. And let's make it black. And what I want to do is just kind of draw like a little message box right here in the center of the phone, or kind of the upper quadrant about right here. Okay, that's good. I want to fill it with the black. And we'll keep the stroke on there too, why not? Go ahead and hit in or out of there, that looks nice. Go back to our move tool, let's just go and move that right to where we want it to be. And we can play with the opacity of it a little bit here too. Just a little bit. Okay, that looks good. Now let's go ahead and add our warning message. In this case, we're going to tell Ruby, danger. Okay, select that. Choose a color for it. We could go white if we want, maybe. We haven't done that yet. And let's try some different sizes. 150 looks pretty good. I like that font too. And you just kind of line it up centered inside the box right there. So you can see, using these free brushes we get off the internet, we can create some really cool looking HUD designs and phone designs, interfaces and such very, very quickly. And we didn't spend a whole lot of time doing that, which is important. We don't want to waste a lot of time on this design, especially given that the shot is only on screen for like less than 2 seconds. It doesn't make sense to spend a lot of time on it. I want to call this message background. Cool. So now we've got our phone interface and the flashing thing on it. Let's just go and save this as a PSD Photoshop file. So I'm going to go save. And we'll stick it right here in Ruby. We're going to call this phone UI. Again, make sure it's a Photoshop file. Hit save. Alright, and let's bounce back over to Natron. Now, if we go ahead and just move this off to the side here, I'm going to read in my phone. And notice something cool. By default, as we bring it in, it shows everything, right? The image layer is set to default. But I can, if I want to, go ahead and actually view just certain layers at any given time. For instance, let's go ahead and make this one layer 1. So that's just our black background. I'm going to copy and paste this, just like that. And I want to make this one the next one up, which will be rectangle 1, and that's our line going across the top. And I'm just going to keep doing this until I get all the elements added back into my phone here. This one can be the wireless. So you can see already, if I start going through, there's the black, there's the line, there's the new wireless, and let's just go ahead and merge these three together real quick here. So we'll use the black as our background. And so we want to make that B, and then this will be A. If I can grab the arrow on it, I'll just grab it from here. A, and then A2. So you can see now we're starting to rebuild the phone inside of Natron here, and this is going to come in real handy here in just a moment. So there's the first step. Now we want to go ahead and bring in a few more of these. And let's go and give ourselves some more room. I'm going to put these over here. And let's go ahead and bring in our circles. So this one is going to be circle 1. this one is going to be circle 2, and this one will be the scale. Okay. I now want to go ahead and also merge these together. So we add a merge and go like so. And actually, I think I'm going to make my scale the background on that and make the two circles my A inputs on top. So I can view those, and those are all composited. I can now go ahead and put these ones over the top of these. And so now you can see how this is all starting to come together. Okay, just like that. And I think we've got one more that we need to bring in, and that's the actual message stuff. So I'm going to put another one of these and another one inside. This first one is going to be the message background. And this one is going to be the word danger itself. And I want to merge danger on top of the background. And then that I want to merge on top of my shot over here. Let's just go put these off to the side like that. Now I realize this looks a little bit convoluted, but what this allows us to do is to actually start controlling elements here individually. So I could take this lower circle and I could add a transform node to it. Go to the beginning of my shot. And we'll go ahead and just move our rotation over to here. Ooh. And you can see how that's rotating like that, right? Maybe I don't want that one to rotate like that. So what I need to do is I actually need to offset my center. So let's go and put this back to 0. And I'm going to come down here and let's change the Y. And I'm just using my middle mouse to kind of roll that down into place. We'll do the same with the X. I'm going to zoom in and really make sure I get this locked into the center crosshair here. And maybe to speed things up, we'll just go ahead and view this. There, just like that. Now, with that going, I should be able to rotate this. Let's go and zoom out. Yeah, and you can see it rotates just around its axis there. So we'll go and start the rotation here. Set a keyframe. Go to the very last frame. Bring it back a bit. Maybe to here. And the new keyframe is set. Let's go ahead and play it to watch the speed. Oh, and you can see I actually didn't get that keyframe all the way to the end. So let's go ahead and go to the dope sheet real quick. Zoom out. And drag that keyframe all the way to the last frame of the shot. Right there. Frame 41. Play it again. Alright, speed on that looks pretty good. I like that. That just gives it some interesting motion and movement. Let's go back to the node graph. And I'm also going to go ahead and add some motion blur to that rotation that was taking place. So we just come into motion blur and make that 1. So now we click out of there and play it. You can see just the motion of that really is going to make this nice. Now let's go ahead and make our text start blinking. And the easiest way to do that is to go to our merge. And I'm going to go to frame 1. We'll keyframe it on. Set key. Go to frame 3. Set another key. Go to frame 4. And shut it off. Okay? Just like that. Now we go back to our dope sheet. We zoom in here to take a look at this. And I simply now want to select my keyframes and copy them. I'm just going to move my cursor forward 1 frame. And then we click on the mix. One more time, Control C, Control V. And that pastes that. We go to the next little bit here. Scrolling over, 1 frame forward. Control V. So what it is, it's going to be off and then on, and then off and then on. So let's go ahead and watch this and see how this plays. Go back to the node graph, view our text, and just kind of scroll through it. So you can see really quick, it's flashing at us, right? And that's what we want it to do. So now that we know it's working, we can finish this off here in the dope sheet. There we go. All right, if we play it, we get kind of that flashing text effect where it's like beep, 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 beep. So that works out really well. And you can modify that gap and that spacing any way you want just by changing the keyframes on your merges there. And now because that's been merged on top of everything else, we end up with this as the final output. So you've got motion going on here with this thing moving, that's flashing at us, and we can probably even add a slight rotation, very, very slight, to the other circle here. So let's go ahead and take that circle, we'll add a transform to that, go to frame 1, and I'll rotate it over just slightly like that, maybe to there. Start the keyframe, or set the keyframe, go to frame 41, bring it back a bit, maybe it comes to here. So let's see how that one looks. Yeah, there we go. And so again, we're just trying to make the scene more interesting, make the shot more interesting. That'll work for us, I think. Alright, now that we've designed the UI on the phone, it's time to actually place this on top of the phone itself. And to do that, we're going to do some motion tracking, but we're going to do tracking in a way that we haven't actually explored yet before in this course. So just to remind you, here's the original shot. And this is with my basic corrections applied to it. We're going to track it without that log to linear conversion, and here's how we do it. Just go ahead and click off to the side, press tab, type track. And we're just going to plug that now into our original source rather than the converted version of it. However, I'm going to be viewing this down here at the converted level. With my tracker, I'm going to add my first track point. And let's go ahead and put this one right up here. You can see what I'm doing over here in this corner of the window. And maybe even a little bit here. I want to put this right over that little circle. To do a corner pin track requires at least 4 points. We're going to add probably about 5 or 6. The more track points you add when you're doing corner pins, the more detailed your track is going to be and the more solid it's going to be. So now we've done the little eyepiece, the little circle above the phone. And let's go ahead and stick this one on the corner of this little grill like that. So we've got 3 already so far. And then just to get us some extra parallax, I'm going to track the 3 corners that I can actually see. So there's the bottom corner, there is this top corner, and there is the other top corner. So between all 6 of these, I should be able to get a pretty decent track out of this. And let's just see if that works. Select all of our track points, and let's go ahead and track forward. Okay, that seems to work. Go back to frame 20 and track backwards. And that works too. Alright, so now if we scrub through, the tracks are locked into place. That's good. Now we go over to our transform options. And this time we go match move and leave this set to corner pin, okay? I'm going to go back to frame 1, set that as my reference frame. Alright, now that we've tracked the shot, we need to somehow get that corner pin data onto our UI. So let's just go ahead and hit export down here. Okay, that works. We'll bring that out down this way a bit and scroll down. Now, because the corner pin data is based upon this 16:9 image, we need to actually orientate the UI into the phone first on frame 1 and then drive that into the corner pin and let that take over from there. So let me show you what I mean. What I'm going to do first is come up here and disable my black background. I don't need that. I want to see better what I'm doing. I'm going to come down to the bottom of the UI section. Next, I want to make sure that I'm dealing with a true 1080 by 1920 image. So to do that, I first need to go into my settings with S, and I'm going to create a new format and give it a size. In this case, I want it 1080 by 1920. We'll call this 9 times 16 instead of 16:9. And now I can come back in here and add a reformat node and set it to 9:16. Once that's done, we add a corner pin. And we just go ahead and start moving this into place. Keeping in mind that we're doing this on frame 1. There we go. That's looking pretty good already. And then you can come in close and really just make sure that you got it in there good. Scroll down to the bottom here. Put that one into effect like that. And then really now it's just a matter of watching this line and this line of the screen and sliding that corner pin into place until that matches. Once I've done that, I know that it's good. And it is. And now we can run that through our actual corner pin here. And this now gets us motion on the shot. So you can see what we've done. We've reformatted it and forced it to be the right size that it needs to be. We then take that, run it through a corner pinner to align it to our shot. And then we take our corner pin with the track data and we run all that through there. And that tracked version is then what gets composited on top of the final shot over here. And if we play this, you can see that all is tracked in. It looks like it's part of the shot. You got danger flashing like crazy. You got all this cool animation going on with the wheels and such. And it just makes it real easy to integrate things into the shot. Now let's talk about how I shot this. I knew that there was going to be an interface in here. I knew it was predominantly going to be black. I also wanted to, if we ended up with any reflections, I want to make sure that I kept those reflections too. And so when we did that, we actually shot the phone completely black, not throwing on a green screen or anything like that. We shoot it black, and that allows us to, if we had other graphics images, we can screen this on top. In fact, I actually haven't even screened it yet, so let's go ahead and do that and see how it looks. So we take the merge, again, checking those alphas, and we come up here to screen. And you can see now that really looks like it's part of the shot, because you're taking a image that's supposed to be made up of light and you screen it on top of the black of the phone, and it provides, I found, the most realistic integration between the two images. So watching this, there's one more change I want to make, and that might be just to slow down the flashing danger. It looks like it's a bit much, like it's as ADD as I am, so we can really just easily come up here and find where the flashing is. It's this one right here. And we go back into our dope sheet, and all we have to do is start spreading stuff out as far as how long it's on for. So instead of keeping it on for 2 frames, maybe we decide to keep it on for 4 or something. So I'm just going to select all these, and we're going to move it over 2 more frames. I'm going to do the same thing here. Move it over 2 more frames. And here. And this is what's so cool. Like, it makes it real easy to just play with it, try it out, and see, okay, is this going to work for what I'm wanting to do or not? Yeah, so that looks better. Now, here's a really cool idea too. A lot of people say, oh, you can't do motion graphics with Natron, and that was kind of the purpose of this training, was to show you that, yeah, you can do motion graphic stuff if you get a base built up in Photoshop. Here's another cool thing we could do. This idea literally just came to me. I could sit here and take and add a transform to this, and we'll go to maybe frame 20, and let's do a frame where we can actually see our text right there. Okay, 23, and we're going to set a scale keyframe for that. And now we can go ahead and back this up all the way to the beginning. Go to frame 1 and scale that down to 0. So now we've got an animated pop-up that shows danger. Check this out. Like, literally, this was an idea. This was not part of the original shot. This wasn't even part of the short film. But the creative juices just started going, so he came up with this real quick. And it makes it a lot more sophisticated and sleek. And actually, I'm going to do one other thing here. I want to go... Let's say I want it to actually appear by frame 15. So I'm going to come over here and fix my scale, make that a scale of 1. Yeah, check this out. So we can set a scale here at frame 15 of 1. So it's going to be full size by frame 15. I'm going to go into my dope sheet, and I want to change just a few things here. So I want to delete this original one here from frame 23 or whatever. We don't want that. So it comes up to there. And then the other thing I want to do is at frame 15 is when the text is actually going to start. So the box opens and then the text starts to flash. So we come to the merge, go back to the dope sheet, And then starting from here onward, yes, we'll delete all these. And then that one we'll just set to 0, like that. So it opens up, there's nothing, nothing, nothing. The box will enlarge, and then the flashing will begin. So let's see how this looks. Yeah, that looks really good. Check that out. So it expands out, boom, starts to flash, and it just really gives it a nice touch. I think all that's missing here is to just go ahead and add a little bit of a blur to really match this in, add a little bit of motion blur to the shot, and we can call it good to go. As I was talking about earlier, things to keep in mind, because I shot it black and I knew I was going to have a black interface, I was able to avoid having to actually do roto around her hand. I also made sure that when I was designing the interface that there wasn't any images and objects that would be covered up by her thumb over here. And that's because I really didn't feel like rotoing it. So again, if you think ahead of time about what you're trying to do and you design stuff based around how you shot it and you shoot it for a design, so it's kind of a full circle, you're able to save yourselves a whole lot of time in post-production as you're trying to put this stuff together. Now, if you love designing, user interfaces and doing this kind of stuff, then by all means design it however you want. Just know that in a shot like this, you're gonna have to roto out the thumb, and it is a short shot, so it's not a big deal. But when you've got, maybe 50 other VFX shots to do on a short film, it adds up pretty quick. So let's just go ahead and quickly add our motion blur and our other blur, and we can call it good. So we'll go to this corner pin 2 that has all the tracking data, and we add our motion blur of 1. That takes care of that part. And then what I want to do is just after I've merged my whole UI together, I want to go ahead and blur that out. So we hit B to do that, and we'll add a blur of like 2. Take a look at it full screen, and that looks great. Alright, well I hope you guys have enjoyed this training on planar tracking and designing a UI and even doing motion graphics inside of Natron, because it is a node-based compositor and it's not designed for doing motion graphics, but as you can see with a little bit of planning, it's really not that difficult and you can do some really cool stuff with it. I hope you guys have enjoyed, and I will see you in the next video.